I'm not ready, but I'm ready. She calls out your name. Please don't. Chat. Okay. I feel like the prediction should be, can Daya run this boss? Oh! Oh. Chat, get ready for a 10 seconds fight. Or 43.5 seconds if I get lucky. I couldn't even last 10 seconds! I've been dealing with a lot of disappointment and burnout in this year with gaming, and it hasn't happened to me before. So much to the point of I get super excited about a game. I can't wait for it to come out. I buy it, I download it, and I can't play it because my computer is too weak or whatever. Or because my computer doesn't have the most expensive hardware out there, and even people with that sometimes have trouble. So that's what we're gonna jump straight into.
Another unstable Unreal Engine 5 title. Why are we not optimizing these games properly and promoting the use of FrameGen and or upscaling to fix the issue rather than making it an accessible feature if needed? Had a lot of fun and loved the story until now, but it's really badly optimized and has the usual Unreal Engine problems. The game is barely playable.
It's not just the Unreal Engine problems. I feel like the problem is with the studios who don't optimize, because then you have games which are made with Unreal Engine 5, and the studios did their job of optimization, and you have no trouble there.
On the release due to
But most
performance
of them
issues, poor
don't.
optimization, which is sadly a standard now. Random stutters and frames per second drops down to single-digit levels, which can only be fixed by a restart. Frequent Unreal Engine 5 crashes.
You guys remember the Oblivion remaster? There was this one time when we were in the Oblivion Gate. I think this is the last time that I streamed this game because it was so bad. I was at 9 FPS. 9 with my computer, which is a fairly decent computer. It's somewhere in the middle. It's best for the price, but it's in the middle in terms of, like, it's not really the highest high-end graphics, but my GPU is pretty good. And then people with less good, let's say, equivalent graphics card from Nvidia had way better experience than me, because these people, they don't optimize for AMD anymore. Slideshow FPS, yes, that's what I'm dealing with, and it continues. Wu Chang is the third game this year that this has happened to me with.
Is followed by shaders compiling
Hi
every
Mooncast,
time
thank you for the
launch
compliment.
game.
How are you doing
Absolutely
today?
terrible, just awful, a disaster. I can't tell if it's bad luck, overconfidence, or Unreal Engine's fault, but whatever it is.
Yeah, it's definitely the lack of optimization. For me, it happened first with Inzoi, Oblivion, and now Wu Chang. And I think everybody can agree that those three were extremely heavy on the computers.
It's a mess. Unreal, get it, among of stuttering, crashing, and terrible optimization, but it's okay because nostalgia. I have two problems with this game, otherwise it's a good game slash remaster. One, Unreal Engine sucks, bad performance and crashes, even though my PC is better than the recommended.
And this person has 5070 Ti. What can I say with my 6600 XT AMD card? Imagine that. Team Blue and Team Green get all the support for games.
Original is my favorite game, and this should be an easy recommend, but wow, this PC port is bad. Unreal Engine 5 continues to prove itself as the worst optimized modern graphics
AMD's
engine.
Team Red,
and
yeah.
lastly, we are in 2025, and the game doesn't support ultra-wide monitor and another UE5 game with bad optimization.
Yeah.
Now, some of you may have been able to put the pieces together, but of all of these, complaints that I just went over, these are for all different experiences that have released in the last year. The big similarity between all these remarks is the fact that these were complaints all made of Unreal Engine 5 games. This has become a prevalent issue. This is something that a lot of people have been talking about the last number of months. It's the fact, is Unreal Engine 5 truly ruining modern gaming?
So are you saying that they don't optimize for AMD CPUs as well? Because I was talking about the GPU. I can only imagine people who have GPU and CPU by AMD, what they're experiencing. So they get the optimizations. Yeah, I don't understand how you can completely ignore half of the market. And at this point, especially with the 9070 XT releasing this year, I feel like a lot of people will be switching from Nvidia to AMD, just based on the price and the performance that this card can give out. The new Nvidia cards scare me with the power cable issue, exactly. Even if I had the money to buy it, I wouldn't put my computer to the risk. It's
This is
insane.
a lot more complicated than some people just like to make it out to be.
Imagine
It's not
putting
just, oh my
3,000
god,
levs in
Unreal
your
Engine 5
computer
is
and
totally unusable, because there are
it burns it.
experiences, there are games that have been fully optimized, and you haven't heard these complaints, although it does feel like it's almost a 50-50 shot at that. But specifically, the game that's right now under fire, and everybody is talking about Unreal Engine 5 once again, is this last remark that we just went over, and this is Metal Gear Solid Delta.
This
And
looks like my
specifically on the Steam
Wu-Chang.
page, there's various remarks, various complaints about UE5 and its contribution
Has
to this
any one
game
of you
not
tried
running
it
too
yet?
well. Now, fortunately on Steam, it doesn't seem like the
Crash a
issues are
lot.
too bad, with a
3
platform that has
crashes
really
in the
come under
last
fire is
hour. Price tag doesn't justify a texture mod and crouch running.
the PlayStation 5 Pro
Fix the issues, asking full prices is, should expect to work as intended.
performance. Now, this article from PlayStation Lifestyle
Metal Gear Solid Delta PlayStation 5 Pro performance is worse than PlayStation 5?
goes over it. They go over some testing that Digital Foundry did, and what they found was that Konami
It feels like the
didn't
more you
optimize
pay, the
MGS
worse
Delta to run
performance
at
you
a
get.
locked 60 FPS. On both the PlayStation 5 and PS5 Pro, the outlet found that the game wavers between 40 to 60 FPS, even dipping to 30 in some areas. In my eyes, for a $70 experience, a premium game, that
What
is
GPU do you have,
unacceptable.
Chance?
But unfortunately, this just keeps on fucking happening.
Yeah,
now,
because
there's been other videos.
it keeps on happening because there's people who pay for the games. If we all unite and we stop paying for these games that look like shit, or we try them out for an hour, we see that the performance is shit and then we want a refund, then it's not gonna work for them anymore, is it? They're gonna be forced to actually work on their product before releasing it and want money for it. But no, we just pay them and expect things to change. That's not how the world works. 2K GPU going up in smoke all because the OEM didn't add a current limit in the BIOS.
Other showcases of these problems with MGS Delta.
Oh my God.
Nick Tech, a YouTuber and also
That
a
is
Twitter social media
fire
guy, he pointed
hazard
out that
stuff.
trying to running MGS Delta Snake Eater on the lowest possible settings with an internal resolution of 640 times.
Listen, if 60 FPS is the lowest for you, 60 FPS sounds like a dream to me. We just finished Wu-Chang, Heidi, and everybody who's new in chat. We just finished Wu-Chang, and upon my finishing of the game, I looked at my AMD stats, and apparently the average of FPS that I had with this game, and it's a fighting game, was 15.8 FPS. 15. 15. 15. Not 50. 15.8!
360 using FSR performance, 2 times scale factor.
At lowest
it's literally
settings.
360p, and the game still dips to 30 FPS.
At
This sums up the optimization of
1080p.
this game. And another tweet, he pointed out a video that came from Z Gaming, another YouTuber.
I can prove
influence
it with a
streamer of sorts.
screenshot.
They said, here's your $80 UE5 game in 2025 running on an RTX 5090, and there's just some noticeable stutters that make this 5 running on an
Okay, so the
RTX of
performance
sorts.
that you're
They said,
watching on
"Here's your
screen is with a
$80 UE5 game in
5090.
2025 running on an RTX 5090, and there's just some noticeable stutters that make this totally unplayable until Konami gets around to fixing it."
And you know what's really funny though, when you have such an experience? Because I know my PCs, I know how to deal with my hardware. I've been building my PCs for the last I don't know how many years. And then I stream a game like that is not optimized, sometimes at all, sometimes not well optimized. And then new people come into my chat and they're like, oh, your computer is dying, your computer is too old, your computer is too weak, you need to do this, that, and that. And it's just such a funny social experiment to make also with your chat, because like sometimes they see a girl and they immediately think, ah, she doesn't know anything about anything, so it's gotta be her, right? It can't be the game. It can't be the game. It's never the game. It's usually the girl and her PC. But no, sometimes it's the game.
We have another, social media influencer, Synth Potato, saying they weren't kidding about the PS5 Pro having
I
the
can't
worst
believe.
version
Why
of
is the Pro
MGS3.
having worst
There's
experience?
a ton of shimmering FPS drops,
Worse
and it's
than
a blurry mess.
the PlayStation 5?
Embarrassingly bad showing of PSSR here. They would have been better off just shipping the base PS5 version than even trying. Needs patches ASAP. And then he
It looks
summarized
so blurry
afterwards
too,
saying,
look.
PSSR is not the issue here. It's the cooked optimization and complete misuse of the feature that's the issue.
Like,
Trying
there's
to
no
upscale from sub
sharpness
720p
or
to 4K
clarity,
is
rather.
insanity, and not even DLSS 4.0 could do realistically and keep its quality. And as I said before, the conversation...
Does this happen with the Mafia game as well? Because I've been wanting to play the new Mafia game. I haven't heard anything about it. Now Daya chat always knows best, especially the newcomers in chat who have been like here for 30 seconds and they're like, you should do this and that. Nobody asked you, buddy. The Pro has a better GPU with more RAM, I bet, which is what is killing it. How? What?
The outrage surrounding
Make it
Unreal
make
Engine 5's
sense.
performance issues. It right now is on
You're
NVS
you're
Delta.
you're a
Before that, it was
backseater. Filter yourself. Or only backseat on games that we're doing NG Plus on. Then that's fine. But like, I've always okay. Listen. Hi, I'm Daya. All of my life, I've always hated orders. Even when I was a kid, I was like, I can't wait to grow up so that when I grow up, nobody's gonna be telling me what to do. Don't tell me what to do. I'm a person with authority. God gave me free will. I decide what to do. Okay, so if somebody comes into my chat and they don't know me at all, it's one thing for you guys that know me to be like, hey, Daya, you can improve this or that or do this and that. But like for a person to come into your stream for like 10 seconds and be like, do this, do that, and then you're explaining to them why you're not doing that, and they still insist, and they're like, but your graphics are not this, and your game is too blurry, and you should. I can't. It annoys me. It's a pet peeve. Chat always knows best. Okay, dual camera. Yes, so you can see me angry from all of the angles. She likes to be dummy mommy. No, I just don't want to be the submissive person in my own stream without asking for it. Sometimes I'm like, Chad, help me, I keep dying, you know? But no, usually I'm kicking ass and when we have the FPS for it. Cause like yesterday something happened. We were beating the birdie lady and it was extremely stuttering and laggy. And then I exited the game and entered again and it came back to normal, and then I beat her booty in like what, 2, 3 tries. First try as always. Yeah, double the anger, yes, triple the excitement.
the old country. Before that, it was Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. Before that, it was Mind's Eye.
But
Before
you know
that, it was
what? Wu Chang
Oblivion
have
Remastered.
improved a
This
lot.
just keeps on happening. And
Oblivion,
it's not
no.
like this is a
I
problem
don't
that's
know. I
exclusive
haven't
to
touched
this
it in
last year or
months.
so.
It
I
broke
mean,
my
towards
heart.
the end of 2024, the uproar was over. Stalker 2 and
Oblivion
how it
is what
performed
broke
on
my
PC.
heart.
Another Unreal Engine 5 game, and before that, in 2023, we had Star Wars Jedi Survivor and its god-awful PC port. Again, another Unreal Engine.
I feel like instead of them working on their own engines and putting the work and making the game maybe a little bit slightly different in atmosphere and look and feel, everybody's just like, oh, it's okay, we have an Unreal Engine 5, we can just do half of the work here and then like kind of count on that for the rest of the work, and it just loses the authenticity and the spirit of the game. Like I remember the days of early 2000s, every game has its own vibe, you had its own feel. Now it feels like this emptiness in each game almost, with the exception of Wu Chang. I think Wu Chang did an amazing job in like bringing in unique atmosphere and spirit into the game. But the rest of the Unreal Engine 5 games that I've played and that I've watched, because let's just say it, my computer can't run all of them, have felt kind of like they have this same kind of emptiness. All AAA games are focusing on graphics over gameplay, that as well. And then when the graphics are not even working, what are we doing? And the story. There were days like, I remember the days 20 years ago, I was playing some poorly graphic, I can't even call it graphically beautiful. Like back in the day it was nice game. I'm trying to remember. I think it was called Dungeon Siege. We're playing with a bunch of friends and it was amazing and it was all functioning. When they released the game, it was functioning. There were no such crazy crashes and stutters and shit. It just worked. We never had these problems. If we ever had problems, it was with the internet crashing. But then, different years, different problems. So, one of my friends was a game dev for 25 years. Ooh, that is interesting. I'm sure you have many stories to share. He says the culture is to just get the game to market as soon as possible. And I have worked in high-tech companies before, and I have been a quality assurance person. I know how people work in these companies, and honestly, it's just disgraceful to the customers. They just want to min-max the time that they have for the money that they want to get back with the least possible work done. And as a QA who's supposed to tell them, hey, this needs work, they always met like any type of criticism, even though it's my job. Like, it's not personal criticism. I just have to tell them what is not working. They met it with like hate. Nobody wants to do their job anymore. Job role checks out. You sound like a QA. How do I sound like a QA? I don't take this as a compliment. I take this as a she will notice every single little problem and she will point it out, which is good. I mean, but like we have this very beautiful word here in Bulgaria. It's called drebnava, which means you're catching on to like the smallest fucking things, excuse the F-bombs, and you're just like bringing attention to every disadvantage. Personally, I'm enjoying the little things in life. I prefer to focus on the good things rather than the bad things. See, Chance right now is being drebnav. He's catching on to my F-bomb, so I do squats by the end of the stream. This is very, very fair.
In 5 game. This console generation, the amount of developers that are pivoting to this engine, it's just becoming more of a widespread problem.
What?
And definitely people are seeking answers. And that's why we look to Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney, who addressed this the other day. He had an interesting response to the criticism. He said the main cause...
Hold on. I want to read the title because that's all people do these days, reading the title. Aren't about the engine, they're about when develop... Oh, that's actually true though. The title is true.
Interesting response to the criticism. He
That's
said
what I do.
the main cause is the order of development. Many studios build for top tier hardware first and leave optimization and low spec testing.
And back in the day, like people like me who were doing QA, we were supposed to test things on different systems. What happened to that? Why are they only testing on 5090s? And even that barely, because we saw the guy with the 5090 and how his game was running earlier.
For the end. Ideally, optimization should begin early, before full content build-out. Epic is working on solutions to make that process easier, he explained. We're doing 2 things, strengthening engine support with more automated optimization across devices, and expanding developer education so optimize early becomes standard practice. If needed, our engineers can step in. And last...
He's right, he's correct. People don't even test on different screen sizes anymore. Do they even test on different operating systems? Because the way that I got effed over, Chance, don't you dare! The way that I got effed over by Stream Deck this year is they released an update and they wouldn't even tell you that it's only working with Windows 11. And only after it effed my system up and I had to like roll back. And then when I start the app, it will tell you, update. And in small tiny letters, it tells you it's only for Windows 11. And it doesn't work with my Windows 10. I feel like they just test it on their own computer, see that it works, and just release it. Expect everybody else to deal.
So he said game complexity is much higher than 10 years ago, so it's hard to solve purely at the engine level. Engine makers and game teams need to collaborate. We're also bringing Fortnite optimization learnings into Unreal Engine so titles run better on low-spec PCs, although I do find that funny because Fortnite has...
I find it funny, low-spec PCs. If they knew my specs, they would probably call that low-spec. What I'm meaning to say is they probably mean like somewhere mid-class PCs and not real low-spec, because low-spec PCs are starting to lose support for their graphics card. Even though they still run perfectly, they just stop optimizing or updating. And my card with AMD is only 4 years old, and they've already stopped updating the AMD software as they did. Beforehand, we used to get like an update every month or so. Now it's been months. This year, we've only gotten like 1 or 2 updates. And you can feel that it's needed because some things start to stutter more. And now it's been like this for months. They just...
It's been criticized heavily
stop
for
supporting
certain
so you would buy the new thing.
The optimization just isn't there, such as on the Switch. Now, Sweeney is right, though. I think it is worth mentioning that there is a number of Unreal Engine games that have run without a hitch. I mean, I look to Avowed, I look to Hellblade 2. Those are prime examples of success.
Chat, I forgot about Hellblade 2. Do you remember that? That was 6 FPS. Granted, I wasn't just playing it, I was streaming it as well, but 6 FPS. 6. 9 for Oblivion, 15.8 for Wu-Chang, and Inzo is still in early access, so I don't want to badmouth it too much.
In this area. Even Expedition 33, which also released earlier this year, a Game of the Year contender, not really any issues in terms of performance, but I also do think that those games, specifically like Expedition 33, it's just not a heavily demanding game. I mean, you look at a lot of the scenery, you look at a lot of the action sequences.
It looks empty.
It's very different than, say, a massively open world experience in the likes of Stalker 2, that is also seeking some of the best game graphics.
Yeah, they're
That's just
trying
not
to
what
optimize
Expedition 33 was all about. But at the very least, what
their
Tim Sweeney
money
is saying, I think
for
there
the
is a
project.
truth to that. And it's not like Unreal Engine 5 is the only game engine that's running into issues.
Not even double
Game
digit.
optimization has become an industry-wide problem. Many games, many experiences
Listen, when I got 25 FPS, I felt like I was on top of the world.
have launched
I'm not even
broken.
kidding.
I mean, you look to Monster Hunter Wilds that came out earlier this year. There's been so much controversy in regards to how Capcom has handled that game. It just feels like every month or so we're running into another game that's just not running how it should. And that largely is because these game companies, whether that be greed, they're trying to rush these games out.
And not only that, the double atrocity of creating a remaster game of something that is 19 years old, like Oblivion, and then making it in such a way that when I loaded the old school Oblivion, it gave me more than 100 and... No, how many FPS was it? I think we went into the AMD app and it gave me like 1,000 and something FPS, which was something insane. And then the new one that cost me somewhere around 60 euros or so. I've forgotten how much it cost, which is not cheap for a remake at all. Remaster, not remake. 60 euros, 9 FPS, 2025, with a fairly decent graphics card, 10th generation Intel CPU, which is supposed to run at 4.2 gigahertz, which is way more than any of the others, and still 9 FPS. And you pay, what, 60 euros for that? It makes no sense.
Have the mindset to update and fix it later on. Now, we did have a couple
1K
of interesting
FPS, yeah, that
responses
was
to
the
what
first
Tim
time and
Sweeney said
only
about
time I've
Unreal
ever
Engine
seen
5
that.
and the fact that a lot of game companies aren't prioritizing optimization.
I wonder
with
if
the
it's still
engine.
there if
We
I
had
go into
Baldur's
my
Gate
AMD
3's publisher and
software.
director saying he's not necessarily wrong, but a game developer's ambition should not be capped by hardware. It's blue sky
Double
and then
camera
reality hits.
anger.
If it was reality and then blue sky, you'd end up with pretty uninspired games. And then we had a former Naughty Dog developer saying he's right. The problem here
Chat is completely right. The more money you pay, the better your performance or experience should be. Why is it the opposite? Why do we have some free games that perform way better than these AAA titles?
is that every developer knows it, yet half the online discourse will claim it's a lie despite them never having shipped a game. So the truth doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
and I
that
do
makes
think that
sense.
this is an
NCT.
interesting exchange that happened months ago when, again, Stalker 2
And sorry that I'm stopping the video so much, but I want to be talking with you guys and be interactive. And even then, MCG, when Wu Chang released, I had people come into my stream and tell me that they tried Wu Chang on Xbox, and it seemed very, very stuttery and blurry, to a point where it gave them a headache and they stopped playing.
was under fire. Somebody saying, I was under the impression it's because UE5 is sold as a more complete toolkit that does all the work of lighting and shading for you, so devs are handing it to less experienced level designers and artists thinking the engine will just figure it out, and then we're left with these janky messes.
I think it's also about the workforce. They're trying to get as much money with the least amount of money that they can put into the project, meaning they would hire the least experienced devs that they can for the price that they have to pay them for their salary, with the least amount of work that they can do, with the most expensive price that they can put on it.
And a supposed developer
You
who has
are more
worked on
important
Unreal
than the
Engine 5
video.
responded saying,
It's
I've worked on this
confirmed.
engine and helped quite a few other people optimize their projects. It can run great, but there are a couple of issues that prevent this. First is the one you said, inexperienced level designers, environment designers who
Hi,
do
Didi. How
what
you
they
doing?
think is
It's good
best
to see
without
you.
actually knowing. And then there's the very incomplete documentation that compounds the problem. Almost
Or
all of the
Bulgaria.
optimization I do for Lumen/Nanite is
And they
completely
don't
missing from
understand
the
English
documentation, and
properly.
I've just had to figure it out over the years. There's some very impressive technology in Unreal Engine. It's just implemented poorly by many developers. And then he was asked, do you have any experience or examples of the optimizations that he's done? He said it really depends on the environment and what they're using. If it's
Don't even get me started on EA. Hey D, I was a big fan of Sims. I've been playing Sims for 25 years. 25 years. I've been a Sims mod junkie with over 350 gigabytes of mods for the current title, Sims 4. And what Sims let me correct that. What EA has done to the Sims franchise and to us, the Sims community, is absolutely atrocious because 10 years they've released over 100 expansion packs with crazy prices, some of them being $40 or 40 euros, the equivalent for us Europeans, that have almost no content in it. It looks like, excuse me, but it looks like shit. It looks like some kind of a cartoony, ugly thing. Some people like it, that's fine. I'm not judging them, to each their own. But this is my personal opinion. When Sims 3 ended and it looked a certain way, I thought that Sims 4 could only go upwards and be more realistic and more beautiful and work better and all that. They just went backwards. And so, 100 expansion packs, giving the least, not even the justified quantity of content per the price, and people buy it and people pay for it. And I've been there too. I mean, I've been streaming it. I can't say that I've bought every expansion pack, but I'm not doing it anymore. I'd rather pay in Zoe and have like 10 times the experience that I have had with the base game with Sims in early access before the game is even released. And even though we have optimization problems, at least they're working on it and they've released a bunch of updates that have helped. Right now, in InZoi, for example, I'm able to put my settings not to the lowest, but to middle, and it runs beautifully off stream. When I start to stream, it's a different story. But again, it's an Unreal Engine 5 game. It's very, very heavy. Tons of hyper realistic skins. You can literally see like the pores on their skin. And I think it's worth it. It all depends on the studios. Most game devs are in India now. Yeah, chance the way they like outsource workers, and they've been doing it here too. Like a lot of companies are having branches here in Bulgaria so that they can pay us the Bulgarian salaries, which by the way are absolutely incredibly ridiculous. Some people get paid somewhere around $1,000 a month if they're lucky. The minimum wage is way lower than that for the same kind of stuff that they would have to pay thousands outside of Bulgaria. And I wonder how much English they understand. As I said earlier, like I would suppose that the workers, the cheaper workers, release this like order of things that they have to do, and if they don't know the English properly, you can bet the results are not going to be the best. That is the point. The workforce EA want to ship a new battlefield every year using 3 teams and have 3 years each to ship a new game. If they could do it every month, they would. I feel like at this point with The Sims, and don't quote me on that because I don't know. I've never researched it like specifically for the statistics, but just from the memory of it, they release every year a few titles just for The Sims, around 3 or 4, and then a bunch of different kits which are cost like the cheapest, somewhere around 10 euros on top of that. So very, very money hungry. And with the money that they're earning, they could afford releasing better titles, but they're not doing it. They need to focus on building games they can perfect, then work up to building their dream projects. I agree. A lot of devs just want to skip to making the AA game. Making the money. 40 euro for crayon drawings. Exactly. So, since you said that, and a lot of people in the Sims community are feeling so loyal to this company to a point where they can't even see what's right in front of them. When Sims 4 released 10 years ago, soon gonna be 11, it didn't even have the basics. Like, you didn't have toddlers, you didn't have pools in the game, and I think it cost 60, not 40 back in the day. And they compared today, EA, today's EA product, Sims 4, with the 100 and something expansion packs with all the content. They compare all of that cost more than $1,400 at this point, maybe $1,500 or more, to the $40 early access game of InZoi, which is not even released and already looks 10 times better and has tons of more content. And sometimes the clients are the problem too because they enable this behavior. If you pay them, why would they change? Human behavior basics, like if you enable the shit behavior, they won't have a reason to change, to improve. You believed in EA to not shitify it. Actually, 25 years ago, I didn't know much about EA. I had seen the name. I don't remember how many games I had played from EA. I just remember the first days of Sims, we had like Maxis Sims. And then it just became EA, and yeah, it shittified it. All the way. All the way. My problem is a lot of games feel uninspired. Yeah, they feel like a copy paste of something that's already been done like 1,000 times and usually better than it's done now. Uninspired, and like they're putting boring dialogue in. Yeah, not to mention the dialogue. 1K doll hairs, more expensive than that. And then people start making mods because they realize that this game is unplayable without mods. I have challenged myself multiple times to see if I can survive The Sims for more than 30 minutes. It's a huge challenge for me. And so modders have realized that The Sims 4 game is hanging on their shoulders, and now they're wanting money for their mods too. So some people are paying the mods, some people are paying for the game, every single title that comes out, and it just looks so bad. And on top of that, they managed to break the game with almost every patch. I have stopped updating my game somewhere in December. That's why I've not played The Sims, because it's unplayable without updating all of your mods. But yeah, it's a huge mess.
What I normally do with Nanite and Lumen, dense forests are often a choke point for people. There are tons of things you can do if you use Nanite, like using full geometry foliage instead of the typical masked cards. That alone is a huge boost. Aside from that, shadows are usually the next biggest performance hit. Managing which plants are allowed to have fully dynamic shadows will net a huge boost, or if it's a nighttime scene, they often don't need full dynamic shadows at all. Tons of different things you can do. And like I said, this has just been an issue for a long time. We've had pieces like this coming from VG247. This was actually what that developer was responding to. It's time to admit it, Unreal Engine 5 has been kind of rubbish in most games so far, and I'm worried about bigger upcoming projects. And they pointed out that Stalker 2.
And it's not only just the size of the project and the size of the open world, it's also a matter of what type of a game it is. For example, Souls-like games, they're fighting games. You're moving extremely fast in that game. And so, if the optimization is not there, what happens when I'm fighting someone like the Eternal Glory from Wu Chang, which felt like fighting Neo from the Matrix, and I'm not even kidding, because at some point he divides by 4, and all 4 are attacking you, and every movement that I make needs to be extremely fast, and so you are target locked. And so when you're moving, the whole atmosphere around you moves. Every freaking second it's moving and rendering and moving and rendering, and if they don't optimize that, it just doesn't make sense to release it. Because I think there needs to be a rule of when you're releasing a game like that is extremely reliant on the FPS, it shouldn't be released unless it's optimized and it works. Because it's one thing to be driving in like a straight line where you're you're driving fast and the game is still rendering the shit that's coming in front of you. It's a whole other thing when you're constantly turning around in a fight. You know what I mean? And you're saying when people mod in the paid content, you know you have a problem. Yeah, to be honest though, a lot of them are putting extremely hard work into their mods, and they have turned this cartoony-like game and its objects into a alpha, super hyper realistic content. So I see why they want to get paid for their content, but maybe putting it behind a paywall is wrong because it's not agreeing with the terms of service in any way.
Has made me look back and realize that maybe it was a mistake to make Epic Games' Unreal Engine 5 become an industry standard for the next decade. And I really did want to highlight the last paragraph in this piece because it summarizes some of my concerns moving forward. As we look to the future with Unreal Engine 5 powered behemoths like the next Witcher, Mass Effect, and Star Wars Jedi entries looming nearer and nearer with each passing day,
I wonder if The Witcher is going to have the same problems.
Studios that have ditched their own tech to rely on Epic Games' engine, which so far feels quite underwhelming in real use outside of wild tech demos and projects where tons of time and resources were allocated to work out its kinks. And this is the one area that gets me so concerned about the future. You look to some of the massive, amazing engines, whether that be the Fox engine, that fueled a lot of those Kojima Metal Gear games, and Konami ditched it. And you indeed have a lot of people looking at what's happening with MGS Delta and wondering, why didn't they go with that game engine? The engine that looked and ran spectacularly well.
I never played these, so I can't really speak on that.
This brings us to an article from KR Asia. Game studios turned to Unreal Engine 5 as proprietary tools fall from favor. At the 2024 Game Awards, 2K Games and its developer Hangar 13 announced they would abandon their proprietary Fusion engine in favor of Unreal Engine 5 for the latest Mafia installment, Mafia: The Old Country. Similarly, CD Projekt Red has transitioned from its in-house Red
Have anyone played Wukong among you? Because I remember when it released, it was very favored and it got really, really good reviews. I don't remember if I've heard anything about its optimization and performance. I don't think it had the trouble with performance.
Engine to Unreal Engine 5 for the
I
next
might be wrong
generation,
though.
The Witcher series. Even
I haven't
studios
played it.
renowned for investing heavily in proprietary engines, like those behind the Silent Hill 2 remake and the Halo series, are embracing Unreal Engine 5. And we do have developer accounts about the challenges that are posed by using these proprietary engines and why companies are choosing to ditch their proprietary, like Red Engine, in favor of Unreal Engine 5. Former CDPR developer Bart Ronsky shared candid insights on X, saying every game CDPR dropped the whole engine. Rewrote it from scratch, hoping this time it will be better and work, but then due to crunch, hacked the hell out of it, with it not being maintainable or usable at all. Similar challenges plague the developers of the Halo series. Some components of Slipspace are almost 25 years old, remarked Chris Matthews, studio art director at 343 Industries, in an interview with Xbox Wire. Although 343 were developing it continuously, there are aspects of Unreal Engine that Epic Games has been developing for some time, which are unavailable to us in Slipspace, and would have taken huge amounts of time and resources to try and replicate. Older engines frequently accumulate technical debt, entrenched bugs, or inefficiencies that become increasingly difficult to resolve over time, with staff turnover attempting to overhaul such.
It's all about the resources, because if it's about the time, then you can hire more people to do it faster. And then it all boils down to the resources.
Systems can prove daunting, risking widespread failures. In contrast, modern commercial engines built on decades of iterative development offer a more stable and scalable foundation. And this alone is kind of one of the big things and the reasons why we're seeing an explosion in Unreal Engine 5. But there's also a disappointment attached with that. I mean, you look at some of the games like even MGS Delta, some of the iconic scenes, you compare to what it looks now, there's just a certain feeling or a certain look that you have with Unreal Engine that is kind of something that trickles over to all of these games, in which they all feel and they all play very similar. Even Oblivion Remastered, we had the same criticism. When you enter those sewers for the first time, that iconic imagery, the art direction just isn't the same, and that's what I kind of trying to hit home on. A lot of people have criticized.
It didn't feel the same either. Like, I remember playing Oblivion back in the day, and I remember playing it now. The spirit, the atmosphere is there, but like something about the spirit is different. I don't know how to put it into words besides that word.
Unreal
and if
Engine
you
5,
felt it, you know what I mean.
Problems. It's just the fact that a lot of these games that are coming out now, they just don't feel different enough, and that's something that is lost when we're ditching all this proprietary
There's no more
software.
uniqueness.
And just to understand how much the playing field in the gaming industry has changed, pointed out here, an examination of the winners of the Game of the Year award of the Game Awards from 2014 to 2020 reveals a gap. Despite Unreal Engine's widespread adoption and technological sophistication, none of the winners, games like The Witcher 3, Overwatch, Zelda, God of War, Sekiro, were developed using Unreal Engine. Instead, these masterpieces emerged from studios leveraging their proprietary engines. This dynamic shifted dramatically by 2022. Unreal Engine-powered titles began to dominate the stage, with a dozen upcoming or recently released games based on Unreal Engine featured at that year's TGA ceremony. And even now, the sheer amount of games utilizing UE5 has only continued to grow. And some developers are upset by this, but not surprised. While Cyberpunk 2077 was a disaster at launch, a poorly optimized one, especially for consoles, a senior developer reached out to me a few years ago explaining the issues that plagued the game were largely to blame on studio leadership. More specifically, their decision to not invest the proper resources into Red Engine development. The company, in the years making Cyberpunk, lost a lot of key talent and were replaced by inexperienced juniors.
Which is why I feel like Wu-Chang is not going to be the game of the year, even though I really think it should be. Even with all the problems, they did act pretty fast and they did optimize, and I see my friends streaming it. Most of the people with like Nvidia cards, and it looks amazing with them, and the fact that I can even stream it is good enough for me. Sometimes it stutters and it's bad performance and I get angry and I scream at it, but it's still an amazing game. I can still enjoy it very much, and I think it deserves it. But do I believe it's going to be in the game of the year? No. Sadly, no. It's the same as the Oscars. Yeah, they award their own people. Whoever pays the most money gets the award. Do you think that's how it works?
Concerns by engineers were brushed off, and a mentality of we'll figure it out along the way was said.
Imagine not having the money to put it into your own project to make it work better, but having the money to pay to get the award so it can be sold for more
By
people.
executives to developers.
To
Inside
more
reports
people for
additionally
more money.
exposed that CDPR was building the game and engine at the same time. Designers would have to wait on the engine to test features or experiment with new ideas, and then after that wait, bugs and glitches would appear, which meant engine fixes were needed and more waiting would be necessary.
That's how it
All
works.
of this contributed to that game's chaotic development, and as we've now seen through the Phantom Liberty
And it
expansion
took it so
and the
long to
various
be
other
developed,
improvements
though.
made, Red Engine was never to blame. The game
We
was
should
just
play
rushed
it, by
out
the
way
way.
too early. And now there's a sense of disappointment that
Cyberpunk.
engine will now be left
Probably
in the dust
restarted
because there's
from
a unique
scratch.
feeling and visual identity that cannot be replicated. I asked at the time to the senior developer whether or not the move to UE5 would be the best, and they simply
No.
highlighted back around 2021, 2022 when we had this conversation, the tools for open world games were not there for Unreal Engine, and the move would not be as easy as CDPR was making it out to be. And as we've now seen in a number of open world UE5
Yeah.
games that have since launched the last few years, the concerns
And
are
it has
very
really
much
nice
valid.
performance.
Ultimately, though, the
for my
decision is
old
one a lot of
machine.
companies are making now, because training developers for
My
proprietary
computer is
engines
already
is
4 years old.
time-consuming.
It's
Keeping
considered
up with
old.
modernizing and improving said proprietary engine is time-consuming, and instead utilizing the game engine that so many developers are already knowledgeable of is viewed as the easier path. And to Epic Games' credit, they have been active. They are working on improving and solving a lot of the issues that developers are running into with Unreal Engine. But as Tim Sweeney really put forward, there's only so much they can do when a lot of these companies, a lot of these development studios aren't prioritizing
Yeah,
optimization.
that's true.
And one of the big issues was shader stuttering. That is something that Epic Games developers had introduced solutions on earlier this year. And even now, Unreal Engine 5.6 is here, and it's said to deliver up to 30% more performance in games, as well as enhancements with ray tracing on consoles and high-end PCs. The update also optimizes both GPUs and CPUs, promising smoother 60 FPS gameplay and better lighting quality. Now, will this solve all of the issues?
Imagine 60 FPS sounding luxurious to us in 2025 when they're talking about the high-end systems that they update to. If they're talking about 5090s, I would want to have over 100 FPS, and that would sound good to me.
Issues that we right now have with Unreal Engine? Obviously not. I have extreme doubts about that, and I think we're going to be waiting a while until even a lot of these companies are utilizing this latest update. But when you look at the landscape of this AAA games industry and the companies that have utilized the Unreal Engine, this isn't just like a recent issue. This has been something feels like it's been lasting all the way back to UE4, even UE3 days. It's just become more and more of a problem, especially as more and more companies are now utilizing the software. That's why when Tim Sweeney throws a lot of the blame on
because we didn't push back, because we kept paying for these games, because we enabled this behavior.
Developers and their poor optimization efforts, I think there is a truth to that. But there's also another side of this
CPU
that really does
bottlenecked.
need to be mentioned. It's the
That
fact
is true
that
as well.
a lot of the issues that these developers have run into, the stuttering, the shader issues, you can only push the blame onto developers so much. And it's not like these specific issues have been happening with just a single game or title. That just hasn't been the case. It's almost the same exact issues with every single release, at least for the last couple of years. And that very much makes Unreal Engine look pretty negative in that light. But still, at the very least, Unreal Engine will improve. It will get better. Will they look just like that Witcher 4 tech demo that we got a couple of months
Probably
ago?
not.
You know, taking advantage of
don't
all
think
those
so.
features and all the cool stuff that Epic Games was talking about?
I don't
I have
think
doubts
so.
about that.
Yeah.
Just as I did with the original 2020 demo that they debuted for the PlayStation 5. And I ask, do you recall or have we seen this
I still
console
don't
generation
understand
any
why
games
PlayStation
that
5
look as
Pro
good
has
as that
worse
demo? Because I don't recall any of them.
experience and
But there is a
performance than the
disappointment in
5.
the air when you have so many games that feel and look very similar. And when I look
I mean,
at the
look at
Fusion,
this.
the Fox,
Look at this. It's so empty.
when you have so
And in Zoe as well. In Zoe, I understand why. But, like, look at the world. The streets. The walk. The sidewalks. It just feels so...
many games that feel and look
There's no randomization. Like, there's no one window that looks slightly different than the other. There's no people on the sidewalks. There's no life. Nothing's happening. You just have the street, the car, the 2-3 other cars that are seen on the side
very
every few
similar.
seconds.
And when I look at the Fusion, the Fox,
skyscrapers,
the Luminous, the Red
some
Engine,
clouds,
and so
and
on
that's
and so
it.
forth, there's a bit of a disappointment that we're not going to see these engines in the future. Even now, you look at the AAA
Blame
games
Lucia,
landscape,
welcome
you
to
look at
stream,
certain
yo.
developers, whether that be
How you
Bethesda
doing?
Game Studios with their Creation Engine 2.0, and you just wonder, is the Unreal Engine going to be an inevitable path that they take in the future as well? It has become the standard response to developers struggling with their proprietary software,
That's
one
not
that comes
good.
with very mixed emotions. But very much so, the last 2 years are littered
Covered
with
in
UE5
blur.
launches that looked incredible in marketing only to ship broken. Immortals of
Yeah, what's going on with Crimson Desert? I think, sorry that I'm bringing it in and it's relatively not connected to the topic, but I've been so excited about this game called Crimson Desert. It's been in the making for years. I've known about it at least for the last 3 years now, and it was supposed to come out this year. And I think they just delayed it or maybe stopped it. I don't know. I had prepared some video about it, but I don't know if we're
Avion,
gonna watch it
Oblivion
now.
Remastered, Wu Chang, Mind's Eye, the list goes on. Each time the same cycle plays out, big promises, technical failure, apology patches, dwindling player trust. The games industry has always had rough launches, but UE5 is amplifying the problem to a scale we haven't seen before. Unreal Engine 5 is not a bad engine, it is without a question
I think the
one of the
studios
most
are the
advanced
problem, not the
toolsets
engine
ever
itself.
built for real-time graphics, but the industry's dependence on it is creating a fragile ecosystem, one where homogenized aesthetics, broken performance, and middleware complacency
No
are the norm.
originality.
When every game looks the same, runs poorly, and leans on the same engine updates to fix
We're gonna stop paying for it.
its problems,
But
innovation
in 20
dies.
minutes,
What
no
we
F
lose are the
bombs.
messy, unique,
That's
and
okay. Blame
technically
Lucio. Is
distinctive
here. He can be the
experiences that came from
responsible
studios
adult.
experimenting with their own tools. The irony is that Epic's dream of democratizing AAA visuals has come true, but in doing so, they may have crippled the very diversity and originality that made gaming thrive. Until developers relearn how to push engines instead of being carried by them, UE5 will keep dragging the industry into this.
No, no, no. Until us, the customers, until we decide that we've had enough and we realize that the power is in our paying hands and we do something about it, nothing's gonna change. If we continue to buy these games, nothing's gonna change.
Same pit. Games that look like the future
P-bomb
but play
instead.
like a
Ooh,
broken
we need to
mess.
make
Anyway,
a PP
Unreal
command
Engine
in my
5 has
chat
become the status quo
so
to
that
this
everybody
industry,
can
especially
compare
for
their
indie
PP
developers trying
sizes.
to make a big experience. It is the go-to option, and there's just so much frustration with what Unreal
There's
Engine has
frustration,
done to the
but
games industry.
no
What are your
desire
opinions
to
on that? Let me know
change
your thoughts
anything
down in the
about our
comment section
behavior.
below. But thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video.
That was a good video. I think that this is a mirror to us as human beings in general, because it comes down to the simple things in life and it goes to the big things in life. In your everyday life, how often does it happen that either you or somebody around you will complain about an issue, but they won't do anything about it? Like, we just love to complain, to bitch about it to somebody who will hear it, and then to continue doing it the same way. I mean, if you complain about it, at least do something about it, improve it, you know? And there's two types of people, ones who do it and ones who just continue to complain and do nothing about it. Right now, the gaming industry is using us because we're paying for it, and until we've had enough and we decide enough is enough and we stop paying for shit, nothing's gonna change. It's probably gonna go even worse. That's my 2 cents about it.